Front row. Is it chilly? Is it chilly up there in the front row?
It's a little bit. We kind of like feel it. Cool, right there. I just can't sit in the front.
Oh, we got the front? That's okay. Well, send them to in the front. That's okay. I just feel bad nobody's in the front. I'm short. I have to see a romantic here. This is my friend Flavia. Hi, Tony. I'll be back. Oh, yeah, good stuff. At the same time. I didn't introduce you. Sorry. That's Bob.
No.
Tony Gomez!
Thank you, Brett. Hey guys, welcome. My name is Tony Gomez, and I want to thank you all for taking the time to be here with us tonight. I know there are several things you could be doing right now, so we appreciate you for coming. So tonight you're going to hear from 3 speakers. Our first speaker is going to be Robin Sears. She's going to talk to you about a problem that we see across America that is happening every day, and our own people go through it as well. And for our second speaker is going to be David Camacho. He's going to talk to you about the solution that we put together. Not only do we feel it is needed, but vital right now. And for our third speaker, it's going to be Brett Sears. He's going to bring the problem and solution together and talk to you about the opportunity in front of us. So please, help me welcome Robin Sears.
Hello. How is everybody tonight?
Right.
Good. I was just speaking Spanish with Claudia, so I'm gonna end up going in and out of Spanish. There's only what language am I thinking in right now? I'm in English. Well, thank you for being here tonight. We know there are lots of places that you could be, and we appreciate. Hey, how are you? That you're taking the time to spend with us. And so we're going to spend the next 25 hours. I don't know. Kind of like, what is she talking, as Tony said, about some things that are going on in this world and the group of us who are really dedicated in here to solving these problems. So, we took a look at how the world is organized. And we all know that it's organized in sort of a strange way. There are wealthy people at the top of the food chain, right? And wealthy people have access to lots of things. They have access to opportunities. They have access to financial guidance, financial freedom, the ability to send their kids to whatever school they want to without any hardship, right? And then interestingly, there's a group of folks at the bottom that we call the not so wealthy who actually have access to a lot of things as well, right? Access to free preschool. Do you know we're the only country that doesn't offer free preschool to every child? Is that crazy? Right? You have to qualify for it. College grants, financial support, hundreds of thousands of churches and temples and government programs to support the folks who are the least fortunate in our country. And we're actually really proud of that, right? It's not about changing what we're providing to folks who need it the most, but it's created an issue. And the issue is what's happening in the middle, right? And we call the folks in the middle Main Street families. What are Main Street families? Main Street families are anyone who's really making $40,000 a year up to a dual income family living in Stevenson Ranch making $350,000 a year. Because both of these families, for the most part, are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, one might be living in a small little apartment in Burbank, and the other might be living up on a hill in a 6,000 square foot house. But they're both paying the mortgage out of what they make. And one might have a little Honda, and the other one might have 3 you know, a Mercedes and a Lexus and a BMW. But they all have leased cars. And they're all just trying to do the very best they can with what they have. And they end up with kids that they want to go to preschool, but they can't actually afford it. Now, you guys all know that we have twins, and so we have to pay for 2. Claudia had triplets. I mean, can you imagine? Right, when we're talking about preschool, college for 3, how do we do it? And we want to be, we're in America, right? We're here to be able to give our kids the very best that we possibly can give them. And yet we're in a world where our hands are tied completely. And we said, why? What's happening in the middle that makes it so different from the top? And so we took a look and said, well, let's talk about how this works practically. And, you know, I talk about this. I've been doing this now for a couple of weeks, right? And we talk about the impact on the baby boomers, right? The later generation, folks who are just discovering that they cannot retire, the folks who are just discovering that they didn't save enough and are trying to figure out how to scramble with what to do. The crisis generation. And I talked about the Gen Y, Gen X folks, right? Me, right? Folks with kids, Dawn in the front. And the fact that we're just trying to make it. We believe that we have a little bit of hope. We've tried to do it better than our parents, and yet we're taking out more money from our retirement accounts to help our kids than any other generation. So we're really stuck. We're stuck in between. And then I talk about the millennials, right? The folks that really have the most amount of time to turn this around, and yet are walking in to one of the worst political and economic and climate from an employment perspective and from a school tuition perspective than we've ever seen. So I've often called them the screw generation, right? With the goal to turn it into the success generation. And it's interesting because I stand up here week after week and talk about this problem. And ultimately tonight is about hope, right? Tonight is about not just identifying a problem and saying, well, I hope you had a really good day. Tonight's about saying that we also have a solution. And yet, I was deeply affected this week. We actually went to the unveiling of the gravesite of one of our best friends and brothers this week. And I was standing there looking around this compound, right? The cemetery of gravesites. And I looked down at where Adam's tombstone was. And then I started looking around and I noticed that Adam had a very nice flat stone on the ground. And that behind me, there were these really beautiful standing marble tombstones. And that behind that, there was a gated cemetery community. I mean, can you imagine? We're like hearing this through death. And it was emotionally shocking, right? Because you sort of felt like, well, death is the ultimate equalizer, right? I mean, we're all dead. What are we going to do after? And yet, even in that moment, it's crazy, right? I mean, it's crazy. Even in that moment, we're confronted by these core differences. We perpetuate it. And it deeply impacts each of us. It's a major problem when we're carrying it through death. Right? And that means that if we're carrying it through death, it's starting at birth. You know, you go into a hospital, and they don't have as many sort of bays of babies anymore, right? There used to be that all the babies stayed in one room, right? Now they're in their rooms for the most part. But if you have a baby with any issue, right? If you have, let me tell you, if you have multiple kids, usually, right? They're in an ICU type room, money to afford the very best. You might actually move that child from the local hospital that the child was born in to the best children's hospital at UCLA. We don't all have those luxuries. And it's not about blaming the people who do. It's about saying, how do we get the information and resources to have a true leg in this game? How do we actually level the playing field just a little bit? And no one else is solving the problem because no one else is incentivized to. See, this group of people pays the taxes that fund these programs and buys the goods and services that are produced by the wealthy. So no one up there and no one down here has any interest in this changing. The banks, does anyone believe the banks are here to get us wealthy? Right? The lenders actually want you out of debt. The insurance companies, corporate America, all of these structures are actually designed to keep us where we are because we keep them in business. This is a big deal. And we have an opportunity to change it here, starting with each of us. That's what tonight's about. Tonight's about saying, if there was a way it could be different, what kind of impact would that have? How would that impact you personally? If you knew that you could pay for college, or you knew you could pay for your kids' college, or you knew the number you needed in order to retire and maintain your lifestyle, how would you behave differently? How could your community behave differently with that kind of information? See, there's no march on Washington, and there never will be. And so either we accept it, either we accept that we are not going to have a level playing field from the day we are born past the day we die, or we decide that we're done, that it's not going to be on our watch, that we're going to be the march, because we have a real opportunity to actually make that change. That's what tonight's about. So we can all agree that there's a pretty big problem in our community. Facing ourselves, facing our families, facing our friends, and facing the country. And the good news is, there is actually a solution. And so with that, I'm going to invite David Camacho to come up and share the first part of our solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Man, that's something good. I got there, right?
That's great.
What it could it be? Is that segregated? No? Is it? Yeah. Right?
And that's segregation.
Even in the cemetery, right? I mean, thank you guys again. Robin really shared the first problem, right? I mean, the actual problem that's happening within our community, and I'm basically going to share just the first part of the solution, right? It's the education, and what it is how do the wealthy think about money, and what do the wealthy do to create it? So, what are they doing? What's different? What's their mentality like? How do they think about things that we don't think, right? Or in that way. And then what they really do is they have 4 principles that they live by. And one of these principles is that they lock in advances for their family. They know that it's important to make sure that their generation doesn't start over again, right? So they make sure that their kids know the same information that they know, and they go along with the next generation, right? Because they lock it in. You all know they have trust funds for their kids. They have these amazing products that we don't know about, but they have, right? They have access to them. The group that Robin was talking about don't have access to them, right? Second principle is that they develop habits. So by knowing information and sharing it and creating it with your family members, or in this case, your family, right, for the next generation, is the only way you can create wealth. The third is leveraging experts. They know that by themselves, they can't get a couple things accomplished, right? So if there's something that I'm not good at, I'm going to hire someone, or I'm going to be friends with someone, or I'm going to be in partners with someone that knows how to do it. That way they can help me accomplish something faster. Okay? Why not? And cultivating strategic partnerships, right? So you have to have partnerships in any type of business, or in just in life general, to be able to be successful, right? Because by yourself and taking a mission on alone is harder than having a group, like in this office, right? And we have our partner, and our partner is America. They're actually in Atlanta, Georgia, or Duluth, Georgia, and they're a big business. I mean, they're our biggest partner. They've been in business since 1977, and they've helped the people that are stuck with all the education and services that they need, right? They've been in business since 1977. They have $3 billion in cash. They are regulated by, I mean, they're an IPO, they're in by SC, New York Stock Exchange. So why wouldn't you want to be a partner with someone that's regulated? They've been recognized by Forbes. I mean, they have an amazing track record of helping mainstream families. And we're partners with them because they're on the same mission as us. If we start a community, it can go to the state, it can go to the country. And locking in advances program. What does that mean? How does mainstream families get to do that? What type of education or knowledge do locking in advances for family need for a mainstream family, right? So with our partner, we have something called level 2 insurance. All this is that you're renting a bag of money. So if something would happen to you, your family or someone that you would give this money to will continue on receiving this money or having this money. And locking that generation in. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Developing habits, right? If I have a 2-year-old, if I show her how to save money at a young age, right? She has her college fund. If I show her that, hey, little by little, every month I'm putting $50 away for her, right? She knows, and college becomes real for her because she knows that I'm putting money away for her. But if I didn't show her that, she would think that college was just an imagination and it's something that you think about when she turns 18. But she's 2 and she's already, you're going to college, right? Or you're going to be better than me. But just 20 mutual funds, $25, $50, $100 a month can start you in the habit to getting things accomplished. Leveraging experts. What we do is we help people with managed accounts. This is people that wake up every day and every day, every morning to help you get accounts that you normally wouldn't get. You know, good, let's say, great accounts with good interest. And to go a little bit more into detail with that, I'm going to share the Rule 72. Has anybody in this room heard of the Rule 72? No? Couple people? The Rule 72, it simply states that if you take the number 72 and any interest rate, if you divide any interest rate divided by into 72, it will give you the amount of years of your money to double. So what that means is, so say tonight we're going to play a nice game, and say I give you guys all have $10,000, right? And we're gonna invest this money. So, and let's say we found an amazing bank instrument, so a CD at a bank, right? And we find 3%. Our $10,000 with 3% divided into 72 is 24. That means that our $10,000 in 24 years will be $20,000, and another 24 years, $40,000. So if you add 48 years to your life right now, you have $40,000. How excited are you? It's somewhat. I mean, it's $40,000. I only have $10,000, but I'm somewhat excited. Let's imagine we find the 6%. 6% divided into 72 is 12. The same $10,000 in 12 years is 20. In the 24 years is 40. 36, 80. 48 years, 160,000. Same amount of time, just a better interest. Now let's look at that number 12, right? Everybody's excited for that 12. 12 divided into 72 is 6. 6 years for your money to double. The 24th year mark, 160,000. Look at that 48. Look at the big difference, 2.5 million. Unfortunately, tonight this is a game. This isn't a game for the bank. The bank makes $2.5 million every time $10,000 goes into the banking system. And if you leave your money there for 48 years, they will pay you $40,000. They will keep $2.5 million. And I look, the biggest building in every city is owned by what? The banks, right? You see U.S. Bank, you see Bank of America. Do you think they know something we don't know? Yeah, right? This is just us leveraging the expert, taking advantage of one another. So cultivating a strategic partner, right? It's big. We have the partner in Atlanta, Georgia that's helping us service all of our mainstream families. Not only that, everyone in this room is our advocate. You know that this is important, right? You are seeing that this is actually somewhat of importance into your life and into the community of friends and family. Just share it. All we need is for you to share it with someone and have someone get educated on what it is and play by the same rules that the banks are playing with. Now, I've been applying these principles, I'm gonna say for the past year. Like I've actually honestly applied these principles and my life started to change drastically. I feel like a better person. And not only that, my daughter has a contract, so she'll be all right. But if I apply these principles to my life, I will be financially secure. My daughter will be financially free, meaning that she would actually be one of those wealthy kids that can do whatever she wants, whenever she wants, and whoever she wants, right? And I want that for her. Now, this is a 2 to 3 generation game plan. So if you apply these principles to your life, you will have your family be free, and you will be financially secure. But I want to bring up Brett Sears, and he's going to talk about the 1 generation game plan, where you can actually get to enjoy that with your family. So without any further ado, Brett Sears.
What's happening? How's everybody doing? Great. So thank you guys for coming. It's funny. It always makes me laugh how our suits happen. Like we are a glorified elevator, right? It comes in and everyone's got the proper distinction and spaces and stuff like that. So it's always, and the social scientist in me is always like, well, let's pay attention to what's going on, right? And then, so thank you guys for coming. There's a bunch of stuff that we're gonna go over tonight, and I'm incredibly excited. It's funny. Last week when we were here, like I was bouncing off the walls. I was like, "Oh my God, this is great!" And then, and I am an emotional creature. Like I like having fun and stuff like that. And today I'm like a little subdued. I'm just like, this thing is awesome, kind of chill. And I'm like, it's funny how the different moods kind of come out. And so I promise that we will be impactful. I might not yell and scream. There's 0% chance that doesn't happen. But wow, our screen's all jacked up. All right, so they've been doing our roof. So they completely cleared up and they're putting like solar and stuff like that. And so the projector keeps getting jacked, but I checked it. But if you notice, like on the screen before, it actually looked fine when I checked it. Because I didn't check it with that. All right, so if everyone can lay down and just exactly like, so one of the things that we're talking about is, why are we here and what's needed, right? Is that you heard, right, David talk about some structured plans, talked about the need in our economic game plan, right? Robert talked about this access gap, right? That the wealthy have access to the wealth of the tools, the not so wealthy the support, and this group in the middle is kind of stuck. And every once in a while we talk about really what are we doing? Our number one goal is to close this gap. And so every once in a while people ask, well, why are you in financial services? Right? Because is that necessary? Can't you make this impact in other ways? And the reality is that people need help in a variety of different ways, right? We need help in education and resources and housing and all this other stuff. But I have a question. Has there ever been a point in time in your life where you didn't have enough money to do the thing that you really, really needed to do? Ever had that? Isn't it hard to think about anything else in that moment? See, the reality is that there's this Maslow's hierarchy needs is when we're stuck, when we can't take care of our base needs, nothing else can get taken care of, right? We talk about, and every once in a while, it'll happen in a room like this where we'll talk about changing the world and making an impact, and all of a sudden someone will come up and they'll look at me and almost be offended because they're like, but that's a luxury. Right? Changing the world is a luxury. How am I going to put gas in? How am I going to put food on the table? And it's really easy to miss the impact of what we're talking about. You see, what we wanted to do is said, why couldn't we change the world by helping change the world? Why can't we change yours by changing it? You see, at the end of the day, what this group needs is access. Right? We need access to the financial literacy. Why? Because if you know, right, when David knows that his daughter is going to be able to go to college, right, that those programs are in place, that his family knows about the ability to do that, it makes helping her study a little bit easier. Right? The twins we have almost 14, just turned 12, and 1-year-old twins. And on their birthday parties, like we send out, we let everyone in our family know, hey, this is what it's going to take for college, and this is the foundation. And people are like, well, did you get toys? I'm like, no, if you've been to our house, we got enough toys, right? We need money that's set aside to Primerica for shareholder services that can go in the name of. Why? Because it's a community to be able to make this reality. Now, look, Robin and I could afford to do this, right, on our own, but why wouldn't we enlist our community? Why wouldn't we get the most important people in our lives and say, look, we have an opportunity to provide access both to them and to the impact to say that we're making a difference. We get to teach our kids what it takes to save and invest. Could you imagine if from the time you were 3 years old, your parents sat down with you every Christmas, every holiday, every birthday, every time there was investment, and they got these checks and they mailed it in, and then when the statement came in, they read it to you so you understood what it meant at 3 years old, and 4 years old, and 5 years old, and 10 years old, and 12 years old. You start seeing your investment accounts grow. You start watching a rate of return. You start seeing the impact of growth. Could you imagine the economic impact of your life when you're 18 if they just involved us in the literacy side of what it takes to create some security in our life? Well, guys, it doesn't take a lot of time and energy to do that. It just takes the belief that it's valuable. It takes the understanding of that access. Well, that's one of the crusades. One of the things that we did is, man, this group of people needs access to that financial literacy, right? And we talk about this 2 to 3 generation plan. Why? Here's the truth. I had a really fun conversation with a gentleman today. He's getting ready to retire. He's done a good job. And we're sitting down, and when we first sat down, he's like, I already have someone that does all this. I'm like, great. He goes, I have a couple questions. I'm like, why don't you come in? Right? I don't charge. We'll sit and have a conversation. You don't need to do business. What do you mean I don't need to do business? You don't need to do business with it. I just want you to have a relationship with somebody and have access to this information. He's like, all right. He comes in and it's all guarded. You ever had one of those where you're like, you don't know why you're somewhere and you're like all protective? It's my favorite, right? Because I'm like, hey, you're an adult. If I treat you like an adult and I teach you how things work, you get to behave like an adult. It doesn't mean that you have to do business with me. It means you can be armed with better information. Now, here's what I know. Does this industry provide a lot of powerful information for people? No. Do they treat most of us like adults? No. So if you treat people like adults and you prioritize and provide the right information, it's amazing the reception that starts to occur. And the conversation was, he's got some kids. I'm like, look, you've done a great job to create some financial security. Now, you're on this path, and I might have this conversation, and we just talked about strategies. Right? He's like, well, where should I put it? I'm like, I have no idea. Let's talk about what you want to get accomplished. You see, because when we talk about access in the financial literacy, it's about a strategic mindset. It's about let's talk and plan and then figure this out. This guy's in his early 60s, like I've never had anyone talk to me like this. Of course you've never had anyone talk to me like this. This isn't, go with me? Like I wasn't shocked by that conversation. But what we did is we said, look, you've got kids. If you retire and you do what you're doing, what's going to happen? He says, I'm going to spend my money. So what that ultimately means is your kids are going to try to do exactly what you've done. He goes, yeah. I go, I got a question. If you happen to set it up this way, and then we met with your kids and they started planning and saving and they understood this, by the time your grandbabies are your age, where would they be? He's like, well, they'd be at the top. I go, so you want to know why you came in today? It's not about taking care of your stuff, which we really should, but you do whatever you want to do. It's about the fact that we can fundamentally provide access to everyone in your generation, everyone in your family, to make sure that they don't have to be as committed as you are. They don't have to be as disciplined as you are. Does that make sense? See, guys, when we talk about access, it's about the opportunity to have a perspective shift, right? And so we do a financial needs analysis, and it's about the education and the tools. It's about those resources. Why? Because if we don't help this group of people take control of their finances, they're not going to be able to make good decisions. Make sense? But it does it for me. It doesn't end there. Because can I be perfectly honest with you? I don't dream about beta coefficient, standard deviations, and investment vehicles. Right? Life insurance and mutual funds are not what I like talking about. I about on a Saturday night. It's about a one. Right? We don't get a little Barry White, right, and a universal life policy and say, hey, baby, like that's not what this is. Now there are people who like that stuff, And if you happen to be one of those, you're weird, but I'm okay with it. We embrace everybody, right? But the reality is, all of that stuff's important. The question is, do you and I have to be the ones that provide that information? We said, no. What we need to do is we need to have a leverageable opportunity, because at the end of the day, the problem that I had to tell this gentleman is, I cannot get you free. You don't have enough time. You don't have enough money. I can get you secure. I can replace your lifestyle. I can make sure that you don't have to worry about eating, that you can take a couple of trips a year because you've been doing that. But this freedom thing that you want, it's not going to happen. And anybody in our position that ever sits down with anyone in this room and says, I can show you how to save and invest enough money to get free, is lying. We don't make enough money. But Brett, how can you say that? You know how much money I make? I don't care. You make 100 grand, great. You live in Southern California. You make 300 grand, great. You live in Southern California. You make $1 million. Guys, between taxes and lifestyle, right? If you make $1 million a year, you know how much money you have saved to be able to replace $1 million a year lifestyle by the time you retire? See, guys, that's a ton of money. See, what we need is entrepreneurial literacy. We need access to a way to create freedom in our life. The opportunity to have multiple streams of income, and so that our effort can stop and our income can grow. See, saving and investing is an important part of it, but it's not the end of it. You see, for a one-generation plan, we've got to have access to ownership. Now, we live in the richest, most powerful country in the history of the world. Now, something to say. But, guys, I'm telling you, this is such a critical component, because no one needed to come to. Did any of you need to come to a meeting today and say, "Hey, you should save some money"? We all knew that before we showed up. Hey, spend less than you make. Did any of us need to come sit through traffic for that? Like, we all know that. Now, knowing it and doing it might be a little bit harder. How about this one? You should own a business. Like, did any of you really need to come to a meeting for that? Like, we all knew that. The problem is that without $500,000 of capital, guess what you and I can't do? We can't own a business. Why? Well, because you don't have that much money. No. See, the reality is that most of us don't have the background, the training, and the support and the skills to be able to run a successful business. Why? Because who's teaching it to us? The reason we need a significant amount of capital when we're in business is because we have to have enough money to help us survive the mistakes that we're going to make. Because if you open up a dry cleaners, can you call the dry cleaner down the street and say, hey, how'd you do it? How'd you do about your clientele? Can you do that? No, because you're direct competition. See, one of the things that we want to do is, if we sit up here and say we need entrepreneurial literacy, we want a one-generation plan, then we need a path to ownership of it. Then we have a very important responsibility, which is just like we've got to arm people with the tools and resources on the financial side to be able to come from credibility to say, look, we can fundamentally change your family's financial life. If we're going to stand in front and say we've got to do this, we've got to have a game plan for this entrepreneurial literacy. We've got to be able to teach people that don't have years and years of resources. Isn't it funny? I hate being short, right? And I don't know why I did this. I'm the one that designed the doggone thing, right? I shouldn't have to stretch. I shouldn't just have to point, right? But all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, right? I'm moving it down, right?
Yeah.
Doggone, right? Dog's like, can you put it here, right? So what happens is, so we sat there and said, okay, so what are we going to be? What are we going to do? What is this room about? What is this about? What is important? What does this country need? If we need access to the resources and tools. So we said, man, what if we could teach entrepreneurs? See, in the early 1800s, 1900s, we were an agrarian society, right? People grew stuff, they ran their own businesses, they did their own deal. And then the Industrial Revolution came on, all of a sudden it started aggregating resources, and we started having fewer bosses and more employees. And then over the last generation or so, it's starting to shift, and now we're turning into a creation society that says, man, we've got access to resources. The world is incredibly small. Tell me about your skills, and I'll tell you if I'm going to give you the income. And see, what happens in that situation, you'll be doing able to do the skills isn't enough. We've got to be able to manage us, because the employee environment's going away and the independent contractor, the entrepreneur is coming along. The problem is people are going to try to figure out the skills of the job, and the person that knows how to leverage the skills of an entrepreneur is going to live a very different life. So they're going to keep learning it, and we're going to keep repeating it. Confused and frustrated. It's not fair. How come? So what if we said, man, why couldn't we create a sustainability plan where we could identify the skills, we could develop a support system, and we could grow our capital reserve? Because these three components are what it takes to be a strong entrepreneur. But if we don't know how to give language to the skills, we don't know how to create a support system, if we can't cultivate and give language to our capital reserves, we are going to repeat our generations over and over and over again. We said, why can't we develop an environment where an army of entrepreneurs say, man, I can learn how to be successful, I can gather this up, I can make an impact, and I can change the world, and I can change it. See, the two solutions needed at once. The sustainability plan to be able to teach the entrepreneurs how to do it, and the opportunity to provide the financial literacy to the 70 million families that need it. See, at the end of the day, why are you here? What is this? We're a business incubator designed on purpose to create and sustain high-level entrepreneurs. That's what we do. That's what I spend my day. That's what Robin and I spend our day doing. Working with them. But it's for them to accomplish their goals and dreams. See, I've been here 20 years. And when I got excited, when I got started, I was excited, wanted to do something. And for a long time, I'd recruit people to Primerica. People either saw that there was an injustice in the industry and they wanted to go do this, or they need to make an extra $500 or $1,000. And the idea of building a business with Primerica was a passionate thing. I got really excited. And over the last 5 or 6 years, I realized something. That we would attract folks that needed to make an extra $500 or $1,000 a month, and we'd attract folks that saw the value and the vision of what was going on, and they wanted to open up an office. And so, man, we built our business, and we created the largest financial services distribution company of these two groups of people. And over the last couple of years, we've started to realize that there's a whole bunch of us that have plans. There's a whole bunch of us that have ambitions. There's a whole bunch of us that have done a lot of things in our life, and we have goals and dreams that we want to do. But if we don't have the skills, if we don't have the support system with the reserves, we end up flipping all over and over again. And so we said, what if we can attract those people, give them the skills, the resources, and the capital reserves necessary to where they can learn how to be legitimate entrepreneurs, help us change the world while they're here, give them all the resources necessary. And if they decide to take those and go continue on their path, fantastic, because they can look back and go, because of the time you're here, we got that done. And maybe some of them go, man, you know, that whole open offices and actually create some freedom, that sounds pretty doggone good too. See, it's about your goals and dreams. It's about enlisting a group of people that are passionate, focused, and committed into your corner and say, man, we won't quit on you. We'll give you every step of the way. And our job is to show you how to create the skills necessary to change your life. Why? They pay us really well. There's 70 million families that are stuck, that don't know. They wake up and they say, man, I want to put my kids in college. I have no way how to do it. I should probably do something about my future. I don't know who to talk to. So, man, if we could provide access to that, we could make such an impact. It's ridiculous. And we could walk people through a game plan that they could learn how to build from scratch. In order to do it, we need some things. See, we need to attract the best of the best. So we said, man, we need low capital entry. Why? Because if it costs $500,000 to get started, are we getting started? No. So we said, for the price of a license, we have access to be able to build something, but really what we have the ability to do is to harness that entrepreneurial spirit. That group of people that shows up early and goes home late and dreams about doing something special, that tries to make it a little bit better, but gets a little bit stuck. And all of a sudden, you start when you're young and you're enthusiastic, excited, and all of a sudden, someone gets frustrated, and you hit the hole a little bit hard, a little bit less. And then things don't go the way you want it to, and you get a little bit less and a little bit less. And the next thing you know, you just end up going through life. Because everyone you know is going through life, so it's just normal. And we're like, no. Let's harness that spirit. There's something inside us that says, I know I'm supposed to do something. I just don't know how to do it on my own. We needed a partnership platform, guys, because we need to be able to leverage the support system. We needed to not have to reinvent the wheel and figure it all out. Right? With $500,000 of capital, maybe you can survive the mistakes. They say 80% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years. They run out of capital, they run out of energy. So, man, we're going to let Primerica be the experts in financial services because that's not most of us. We're going to build an unbelievable back office that can run the administrative because that's not the most of us. Because a lot of us can get passionate about changing the world and changing lives. And realize there's lots of people that need strategic plans and conversations and someone in their life that can talk to them. And then at the end of the day, guys, it's got to be worth it. So America's created more six-figure and more millionaires than any company in American history. We've got the track record of economics, but we start our time. And there's a very particular reason why. See, a lot of times people are like, oh, I hate my job, or I gotta get out, I gotta get a job. Guys, if you want to learn how to be an entrepreneur, your job becomes your biggest asset. It gives you an opportunity to learn skills here and to go practice them. Right? Norman Gladwell wrote a book talking about the fact that it takes 10,000 hours to master something. And if you put in 10,000, I don't care what it is, if you put in 10,000 hours, your skill level will grow and you will have a mastery level. We understand that if we learn the skills here, if you put 100 hours a week in here between your job and here, right, we get there a whole lot faster than if we try to do something 6 or 7 hours a week. Because we said, why can't we leverage the time and opportunities to legitimately create a way to grow our skills, to grow our support system, and to be able to leverage and grow our capital reserve? Because we want to change the way we think about things. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to start over. And we don't have to complain about what's going on. We get to build towards it. So in our business, and the last part of this is our business comes down. And we said, okay, so what we figured out and where this goes is you can have a really important problem to solve. Because in business, it's really important that you have a problem to solve. If you don't have a problem, there's nothing to do. Right? That's pretty obvious. Right? And then you have to have a real solution because you can identify the problem. You can be walking around going, man, it's raining outside, it's raining outside, it's raining outside, it's raining outside. That's complaining. Now, if you go, it's raining outside, it's raining outside, it's raining outside, here's an umbrella, now you have a solution. Now, if you walk around going, it's going to rain, it's going to rain, it's going to rain, and you live in Southern California, people might think you're a little bit nuts, right? But if there's a legitimate problem and you have a legitimate solution, you have the platform for a business. And so we sat down and she said, well, 70 million families are stuck. That's a pretty significant problem. We can provide access to the financial education and the entrepreneurial education to legitimately get somebody free. That's a pretty powerful solution. Okay, so now how do we do it? Because now we need to deliver. We put $1 billion worth of commercials on TV. How many of you would like to save 15% or more on your car insurance? How many of us ever call? Right? The reality is that over the last 100 years, when it comes to planning, if it doesn't show up, we can confront us. So we need to deliver a mechanism where our group of people, this group of people, and so that's all we did. And we said we're going to take a very specific approach. The reason we call tonight our AAA'z, right? It's about our allies. It's about everybody in our life understanding what it is we do and why we're doing it. See, we actually believe that Main Street families have a shot to create security with the right tools and resources. We believe that there's entrepreneurs out there that if they had the right support system, if they knew the skills, the support system, and they had the capital reserve, they could fundamentally change the way they approach their finances and their business. And so we said, man, if everybody in our life was clear on that, the support would be ridiculous. We build our advocates. See, it's our vocal supporters. It's the people that say, man, not only is this important, not only am I going to be proud of you, but man, if I stumble across somebody who, you're the person they need to talk to. See, I've been in business 20 years, and I've never asked for referrals. I am not telling you not to do this. I'm telling you I never have. And I haven't for 3 very, very, very real reasons. My wife hates when I say this, but it's true. 1, you don't want to give them to me. True? 2, I don't want to ask for them. Wait, no. 1, I don't want to, you don't want to give them. 2, they don't want to get the call. Right? So think about it. Hey, do you know anyone that needs investments? Do you really want to answer that question? No. Do I really want to ask that question? No. And if you say, yeah, my sister, and I call her, does she really want to answer the phone? No. So I'm going to build my business on 3 yucky things. See, when we talk about our advocates, we like to be the type of people who, if you know somebody who's committed, who's focused, who's ambitious, who's deliberate, who has the tools, the resources, and the language to make a fundamental impact in somebody's life, isn't it easier to go, man, I know someone you should talk to? See, the opportunity to be the type of person who is where our advocate model came from. Because we said, we're going to let the people in our lives be very clear what we're doing, and we are going to bust our asses to be the type of people in their lives where they say, man, this is valuable information and people should hear it. Because now all of a sudden, they get to be our vocal supporters. They get to be the ones that take us by the hand and say, man, you got to talk to my sister. And sister, you don't have to buy anything, but man, you got to know this person. You got to hear this stuff. Because whether you do it or not, you'll be better for the hour. When that happens, we enlist the support and grow. The grassroots gets to start moving. And then at the end of the day, our advocate, our associate. There are a handful of people who say, wait a second here, not only do I see value in this, but I know people that need to hear it, but I might not be where I want to be. What if there was an opportunity for me? How does that look? See, whether you're a 55-year-old that can use an extra $1,000 a month just to make ends meet because you know Social Security's coming, it might not be enough. Maybe you're a 22-year-old that wants to go to college and start a business when they get out, but the idea of figuring everything out scares them to death. The 44-year-old couple with 2 kids that know that if they don't change, the next 10 years are going to look just like the last 10. There's a 29-year-old single parent that says, man, I've got the drive, the enthusiasm, I just need some direction. If someone would help me, I'd do it. I'll go to work. Maybe it's a 32-year-old firefighter that loves what they do, but they want to be a part-time. They want to do something and be a part of something significant as well. And maybe it's the entrepreneur. This is my whole life I've been looking for the right opportunity. My whole life I've been looking for an opportunity to give it the best I got, to see what's possible, and to create freedom. So guys, if you notice, none of these things have anything in common except there's an opportunity for them to accomplish the things that are important to them. This is what we do. The reason you're here is we want everybody in our life to know, maybe, just maybe, you know somebody that reminds you of this list. And if you see value in what we're doing, and we're the type of people who, maybe, just maybe, there's a way to talk. Guys, if we don't make any changes, it's not going to change. But if you had the tools, the resources, and the support, we knew the skills, we developed the support system, and we grew the capital reserve, what kind of impact over the next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? There's 70 million of us stuck there, and there's no one comfortable. The taxes that this group pays for this group, they don't want it to change. The extra money, the discretionary income buys their products, they don't want it to change. The government's never going to change it. Corporations are never going to change it. The banks and insurance companies are never going to change it. There's exactly one way this changes. A group of us lock arms and say, not on our part. If we had access to the tools and the resources, if somebody laid it out, we can learn it, we can grow it, we can take it and spread it. That opportunity presents itself, who knows what's possible? So that's a something. So we talk about the fact that there's a place for everyone and everyone else. This isn't about turning everyone into problems. This is about creating a space where we realize that it takes a village. It's going to take a village to change the world. It's not a way to spend 5 or 10 years. And whether it's as an ally, it's as an advocate, it's as an associate, everyone in this room has an opportunity to make it. That is why we need this. So we've got our, we're here. We always talk about we're here. That's not supposed to happen. Right back. Okay. So we're here next Wednesday night. We're supposed to have our AAA'z night next tomorrow night in Spanish, but I don't think we have people, so we've got other things we'll talk about. But we're going to be back here next Wednesday night. Our goal, guys, is for more people to hear this. Our goal is for the people that are here to get a little bit stronger, a little bit better, a little bit clearer of what's going on. We have Saturday practice. We got our Saturday practice from 9 to 11 on Saturdays, where we said, man, we're going to run entrepreneur training. We're going to teach people what it takes to grow a business. If something triggered inside, get together with the person around you, get your questions into it, and let's figure this out. The opportunity is real. Guys, I want to thank you for coming.